Incoming transmission.
Picture this. A recording studio somewhere far, far away.
Welcome, Watchers of Illusion, to my Castle of Confusion on the 22nd of July. It's a Saturday evening. It's late Saturday evening, actually. It's about 11:30. So I thought I would bash out a review. It's a bit late this week. I do apologise, folks. But we're looking at HeroQuest 2, Legacy of Sorasil on the Commodore Amiga. And we're going to see how good it is compared to the original game. Quite a nice little intro going on here. The castle coming up out of the ground. Reminds me a little bit of the castle in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, almost. It's quite a nice little Legacy of Sorasil animation there. That's quite cool. Always good to get a little bit of a intro on a game. Always find that sets the scene, almost. So we have these languages here. We are going with English, because that is what we are. So, sorry, foreigners. You'll just have to deal with it. So here we are. We're loading into the game now. And loading times aren't that bad, to be honest, which is quite nice. So you'll be getting into the game fairly quickly, he says, as the loading screen just doesn't change. Okay, so maybe I was wrong on loading times, but it's loading the entire game in. It comes on 2 discs, I believe. Yes, 2 discs, and hopefully it's going to be as good as the original. Now, I quite like this intro screen here. It's quite nice. Got the heroes that you want to use, save and load. You've got the equipment screen, and then you've got your mission start door at the top. So we're going to see what we're going to do here. We'll add some characters. So there's our barbarian. We'll add the wizard, dwarf, and ranger or cleric. I think he is actually, but never mind. So we'll have all 4 of them, and we will go into our first mission. Quite nice map screen. So off we go. There's the backstory. So we must pass through and get through the maze. Fairly simple. Kind of like the first mission. I actually like the mission select on the original HeroQuest game. There was a lot more to choose from. I actually like the drop-down menu where you could choose whichever one you wanted to do. I think that was a lot better. But I don't know. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the game. See if the game is any better. I just like the big list of missions that you got on the HeroQuest game. It was very reminiscent of the board game. And of course, there was no HeroQuest 2 board game, so we are literally going on unknown territory, I would say. So hopefully the game will be as good as its predecessor, but we will find out when it loads. These loading times are a little bit on the long side. Here we go. So there's our 4 characters there. The system seems to be fairly the same as the original there. We have I like the look of the barbarian there, very Conan looking there, which is quite cool. So we can attack the skeleton there. So let's have a look. The combat seems to be pretty much the same as the original game, with not much differences. It's not a bad thing as such, but it hasn't really progressed that far, as with the combat and the animation stuff. The wizard looks pretty damn cool. He looks a lot cooler than the original wizard. But the animations are a little bit sort of, I don't know. You'd think that now they would have updated them a little bit more. But I don't know, they're not. Oh, you can actually attack now. You can attack more than once. Oh, that's cool, because you couldn't do that in the original. If you attacked, that was it. It was your game, your turn over. So that's an update. That's quite nice. That's kind of that's a step in the right direction right there. It does look like Gilius Thunderhead, doesn't it, from Golden Axe a little bit there. So yeah, you can move each character in turn. You once you've ended your turn, and all the monsters will turn. Might take their turn, I should say. He's quite cool with his shield and sword there, so that's quite nice. But it's basically the same sort of layout as the original HeroQuest game on the Amiga. Obviously, there is a difference now where you can do more than one attack turn. So that's different. I like the death animation as well, and the fact that it doesn't take you to a separate part of the game to actually see the combat. So it's all on one playing field now, which is a lot better, I think. It just doesn't break up the fluidity of the game, which is quite nice. I like that. You see here all the monsters moving around the map to do combat with you. So every time a monster takes a turn, then another monster will take their turn. So you can see that I'm being attacked by a skeleton, and he got his bony ass handed to him. So there we go. So now we're going to go through and see if we can find doors and stuff like that to progress through the level, which is kind of nice. There's quite a lot of these skeleton fiends around, so you want to take as many of those out as we can. Otherwise they will attack our players as we go through, which is fine. So I've unlocked the door. I can now go through it, because I am a barbarian and it's hard to stop me. You can check for treasure, as you can see there. There's nothing of importance, so it's always worth checking though, just in case there's anything that's been discarded that you can use later on in your adventure. So there we go. I don't think it's really... It hasn't grabbed me as much as the original did. I actually really enjoyed the original, and I probably could have played that for hours on end. I'm probably supposed to be using magic with this guy, but I'm just pummeling them with my cane, which is fine for now. But, you know, just for the purpose of review, I can use magic, but I can't remember how. I know! The first time I've played this, actually. Yeah, I thought I'd give Hero Quest 2 a go. I'm like I said, I loved the original. The board game, I actually owned the board game, thinking it was going to be ultra uber cool, and it turned out to be not quite so cool if you didn't have many friends to come round and actually set the board up and stuff for you. I saw some wicked figures painted back in the day though. People that actually owned Hero Quest took the time out to decorate their figures and make them look really cool. Each character has their own strength and weakness, of course. The barbarian is strong and has a lot of endurance, but he's not quite as smart, so he's not very good with magic at all. The wizard is high in intellect, but not so good with stamina. So there you go. The cleric's kind of an all-rounder. The dwarf's good at finding traps and things like that, so he's always worth having a look at. It's always worth playing with all four characters because they do complement each other, so I would recommend that. And you can always do this as a turn-based game with your friends, so you don't have to play it as a single player as I'm doing now. But if you fancy yourself as a bit of a 4-star warrior, then have all 4 players to yourself. When your character dies, by the way, you can pass your loot and treasure and weapons and everything you've picked up to other characters. So essentially you don't actually lose anything, you can just pass that over and it becomes the property of one of the other characters. You can see the top right hand corner there is my gold and health and all that stuff, so you can keep tabs on that easy enough. It just doesn't seem to flow as well. I'm not sure I like this continual attack thing either. It does take up your endurance points, but I don't know. I actually preferred it when you could just take it to a separate screen. Yes, it broke up the fluidity of the game a little bit, but it wasn't overly bad, you know, and I can't figure out how to do this spell, so sorry about that, guys. I'm just gonna have to wallop him with my cane. But I think if it was turn like the original game, oh, I'm dead. There we go. So there's my treasure, my staff and everything. It will go to these characters here, so that is cool. So there we go. Yeah, so I don't really know. I think it could have benefited. I mean, they've kept a lot of the elements of the original game, but there's a lot that hasn't changed, and I think some of it needed to, just to give it that little bit more of an edge, and I think that would have been much better. But it is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Not as good as the original, not by a long shot. I hope you've enjoyed this review. The sound isn't great either, by the way, just to put a final point on this. It's not great sound. The music's alright, it's probably a saving grace. The graphics are okay, but they haven't been updated enough, and unfortunately that's let it down big time. Anyway, guys, this has been the Retro Review, a Retro Revival show. I've been Rich, and I'll catch you next time.